RHULK, the disciple to the Witness from the Vow of the Disciple raid, has to be one of the coolest villains we've come across in Destiny. First, he's a part of a new alien race, so that's always cool compared to what we've had over the years. And second, he's done some pretty crazy things, like slaughtering an entire race from the shadows, turning them against one another, or swimming into Fundament and ripping out a bone from the Leviathan's rib cage. Today we are going to dive deeper into the backstory behind RHULK and why he's one of Destiny's coolest villains to date. In the raid video I released a couple of days ago, we summarized RHULK and the story behind the Vow of the Disciple raid. As mentioned, today we're going to dive a little deeper and talk about RHULK's story and pull some of that lore from the new armor pieces. We'll get into things like his homeworld and his relationship with Savathun, and some of this has already been discussed, so keep that in mind. If you'd like to watch the other video, there's a link for that down below. RHULK is a part of a new species who is not yet named to my knowledge, and his homeworld was called Lubre. Lubre went through its own collapse much like Earth did, and after the Traveler left Lubre, it would continue to get bombarded by asteroids and pieces of its own moon. Content. Together, a fire burns bright. Our cavern is alight. We hide within it to keep safe. The hazy sky is outside, and surely there are some without shelter this night. Those who will be torn apart by the wild, by the umbral sun, by those Lubraean guards who call themselves stalkers, pursuing us on behalf of a brutal regime. We are divided, split by a shimmering orb that appeared briefly in our sky, as if having two suns isn't already crowded enough. What of this shimmering orb? It was before my time. It came, we evolved, it left us with a mess, those who believed in good progress, those who didn't. So from this card we can see it appears the Traveler visited the homeworld of RHULK, and his people were kind of at like a civil war against each other. Some had different ideals, some lived in the cities, some lived in the wilds, and after the Traveler left, they had their own collapse where things began to die, and one of their sons was destroyed. Just before RHULK could die though, the Witness would arrive to Lubre to take RHULK in as one of his disciples, possibly the first. In the end, RHULK is responsible for blowing up one of their sons, and is the reason most of their species got destroyed. No one escapes my wrath, not even the little ones, not even civilians. The city watches in horror, they know what I am. This must stop. Their faces inform only of relief. Stop! Their faces inform only of relief. I command you. Their faces inform of only relief. The Saphiric sun implodes. Lubre is cracking. Lubre is shattering. Lubre is upending. What have I done? They've turned against me, my regime. They've perished by my hand, my clan. They call me a monster. They put me in a cage. They seek my execution. But your luster, I see it, even though they took you from me. You guide my hand. You free me of these chains. You find me again. You return me to my glaive, no longer RHULK'S bane, serving only one final purpose, Lubre's ruin. A shattered sky, a planet convulsing, our existence upended. Their folly was their intended salvation, siphoning light from the Saphiric sun itself. I use your luster, turn their technology against them, like a backfired pistol. After serving them, protecting them, fighting for them, suffering for them. A shattered sky, a planet convulsing, tearing apart. One Lubraean remains. Me, but not for long. What have I done? I stare into the abyss. It has opened, truly opened this time, to show me what lies beneath. Death. I drop your luster. I drop Lubre's ruin. I let myself fall in, and then I am here with you, my witness. So throughout the whole Shattered Sun lore books, RHULK is having this flashback of Lubre and his people and speaking about it to the Witness, We can see the dashed lines are the witness's response. So he wakes up from this little flashback, steps back, and the witness says, "What do you feel, my child?" And he says, "Relief."
I would look to the sky and see the two sons of my Lubre. One eternally shaded in the dark, the other always a brilliant blue. And in them, I had seen the folly of our kind. A fear of something we believed bigger than us, and a reliance on that which kept us. That blue sun that we harnessed our power from. A simple reversal of that power cracked the blue in half, shut it off, and Lubre died.
Guardian down.
One day, the witness would arrive on Lubre to take Rhulk in as one of his disciples, possibly the first. I plan on making another video about other disciples and even some characters we know possibly turning into disciples, but basically know that they work for the witness and most of them are a part of a bunch of different alien species. One of Rhulk's first missions brought him to a planet and an alien race called the Oslid. Rhulk would hide in silence for 14 years, stalking the Oslid and turning them against one another, slaughtering them from the shadows. They are liquid fear sealed within porcelain flesh, my witness. These Oslid whose service you require. I arrived as you bid, without ceremony or fleets, and for 14 journeys around their star, I have stalked them in the dark, testing them to find even one who may serve as warrior. So that is pretty crazy. In the end, this entire race was killed thanks to Rhulk. And after all that time, when he finally reveals himself to the Oslid, this last one remains and they all have perished. They no longer need my direct ministrations. My children have children. Some bequeath my lessons. The favored spawn are those who learned my lessons well. They converge on my shape, and unprovoked, prepare banquets of wisdom on which their kin gorge. They craft weapons, little more than hurled rocks standing in the long shadow the darkness casts, but enough to crack their world apart. Only Un disappoints, frightened as he is now by his own potential for glory. I cut him free of my succor. Obscrutiny is the crueler fate. In the end, the entire Oslid race was killed thanks to Rhulk. So first he had his species basically killed on their homeworld, and now he hid in the shadows and did the same thing here with this race. This champion Un, whom he was following and kind of believed could be the one to maybe join him in the Witness, was one of the last who remained, but also perished. This moment reminded him of his own back on Lubre, and this was a lesson taught to him by the Witness. So this whole time, Rhulk was hiding in the shadows, remember, and this is when he finally appears for the first time to this race. He levels a weapon on me, and it occurs that I never learned what they call their defenses. It is as irrelevant as everything else that made up their culture, but he is the first to stand and face me. He dashes hate against me and breaks. He does not know my name, he does not know my purpose, and he demands, then implores, then begs. He prostrates himself on the floor, his carapace racking with convulsions as if mourning milks the sorrow from his flesh. And I am weak, my witness. I whisper, I am Rhulk. Devoid of context, it is as meaningless as any other aspect of his people's end. Something sacred within him dies, and he gazes up as I have gazed at you, and only now do I appreciate your lesson. If you watch the other video, the Witness and Rhulk are responsible for the evil plan of turning the Krill into the Hive. Rhulk arrived on Fundament and dove into its oceans, encountering the Leviathan, a creature who was close to the Traveler as we know from the Books of Sorrow. Around this time, the Traveler was also in the same system as Fundament. If you played the Witch Queen campaign, we would know how this goes. In the Oceans of Fundament, the Leviathan gave Rhulk the same speech it would give to the sisters, to not go any deeper, that an ancient evil lurks below, and that he should turn back. So what did Rhulk do? Well, he tore out a bone from its rib cage and used the thing as a weapon in the future, essentially.
It was your infinite wisdom, my witness, that led me into the planet's great sea, and face to face with that which was believed to be unbeatable. You instilled in me a true understanding of wanton domination, not for pleasure, but as a means to achieve our absolute finality. When I reached the creature known to some as the Leviathan, it laid its thoughts bare. Turn from the deep fearmonger, it relayed. I know what you seek. Press on, and you will drown in it. I do not drown. I spoke with a defiant tongue. In a mere infinitesimal measure of time, I held a rib of this beast in one hand and pushed aside its maimed vessel with the other. I rise.
Rhulk after this continued to the deep, where he encountered the worm gods and commanded them to follow the Witness. The 5 worm gods and their mother would agree. The mother would be taken by Rhulk and used to create worm larvae for this new hive army, and the 5 children would follow the Witness's commands and that of the deep. In the Warlock boots, we can see Rhulk sending these worms adrift in the oceans of Fundament to reach the Osmium Kingdom, the kingdom of the Krill, or what became the Hive. A time later, we come to the Throne World, where Rhulk was stationed here now to watch over this hive creation, and particularly Savathun. Rhulk's pyramid ship houses that worm god Zeta, who is hooked up to a superweapon called the Upended, allowing Rhulk to continuously create worm larvae for Savathun's armies. One day though, Savathun would begin to change her ideals and turn towards that of the light. She didn't want to feed that worm anymore, feed into the darkness and Rhulk and the Witness's plan, so she wanted to change things up.
It was a success. I was able to reverse engineer the Hive's organic communication systems within the Dreadnought. I directly interfaced with their network of collective consciousness. The Black Fleet intends to punish Savathun for interfering with its efforts to communicate with us. No one knows where the Witch Queen is, not even her own court. And now Zivu Arath is using this opportunity to consolidate her power.
So the darkness and even Savathun's followers were not happy with what she was doing. Not long after this, about a year later in Season of the Lost and now Witch Queen, Savathun would return with the light, converting this dark throne world into places of light and worshipping the Traveler instead of the Witness. She had enough of this evil being's ways, and so she would trap Rhulk here, cursing him until we would enter the raid.
Guardians, I am not your vanguard and I give no orders, only a warning. The pyramid ahead is not like those you've previously encountered. This one was not left for you to find. You were not guided to it, not beckoned. This domain belongs to a dark entity, unknown in power. It seeks domination of the throne world. Your presence within will be most
Welcome, children of light. Drown in the deep. You have served your purpose. All that awaits you now is the gift of death. The darkness beyond your final days. Witness, forgive me.
In terms of mechanics, Rhulk is quite unique. Most raid bosses in Destiny are stationary or move around a little bit from side to side, but Rhulk straight up charges across his play space, kicks you in the face, and uses his giant glaive to damage your fire team. Even the personality of this dude, he has all the power in the world it would seem and is so arrogant about it, just walking around like he's better than you and your god-killing friends. We are unsure if he's truly dead, most likely isn't given we've seen Taniks a million times, but Rhulk was a nice change in my opinion to the normal gods we're used to slaying like RHULK'S. So in summary, Rhulk destroyed his own people and joined the Witness. He then stalked a race and killed them in the shadows for 14 years, causing a nuclear war among themselves. He dove into the oceans of Fundament and ripped out the rib bone from the Leviathan creature who's a disciple of the Traveler, and then converted the worms to the darkness. After that, he would watch Savathun in her throne world and create a hive army with the worm god's worms, and then Savathun would trap him in the throne world, putting a curse on him. When she died, this curse got a little funky, and then we were sent in to take him out in the Vow of the Disciple raid. Anyway, Guardians, that's all I got for today's video. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of Rhulk and how he compares to other raid bosses we've had in the past. If you'd like to see some more Destiny lore and mysteries just like this video, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Anyway, I thank you very much for watching. My name's Evade, and I'll catch you Guardians in the next one.